Determine the surface area of the composite object. So we're going to look at this shape. And again, think about if you could pick this object up, paint the entire sides, roof, bottom, and everything, what would be the surface area? So I've broken this down into sections. We have 4 walls, so the 2 at the back, and then these 2 longer side walls. So they're different dimensions. We have 2 triangular faces. So that's this shape right the front, and then the triangular shape here in the back. We have 2 rectangular faces on the roof. So this shape here, and then on the other side, hard to see, but you would have 2 this size. And then you have the bottom on the rectangular bottom. So let's start with looking at the walls. So if we look at our walls, we have we look at the very front here, we have 2 times 3 would be the area of the first one. So remember, area of rectangle is just length times width. So we have area is equal to 2 times 3, which is 6 yards squared. So every time you put an answer down, you want to put a unit. Now I have one on the front and the back, so I have 2 of those. So let's just times that by 2. So we have 12 yards square for the front and the back. Let's look at these long walls here. So this is going to be 5, and this, if this distance is 2, this is also 2. We can even write that in here if you want. So we also have 2 times 5, so we have 10 yards squared. That's for this wall, but it's also over here. So we have 2 like that, so we double that to get 20 yards squared. And even though I wrote this last, it just kind of makes sense since I'm looking at this bottom part. We've got the bottom, so let's do the bottom, because it's also area is length times width. So 3 times 5 is 15 yards squared. So we've got the walls done, we've got the bottom done. Let's look at this triangular shapes on the top. So we've got our 2 triangular faces right here. So the formula for area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height, or I like to write it as base times height divided by 2. So if we're going to plug this in for our triangular faces, we've got a base. This is the same base along here. So if this is 3 yards, this is 3 yards. So we have 3, our height's given as 2 divided by 2. So 6 divided by 2 is 3 yards squared. So that's the triangular face here. We also have one on the back. So we have 2 of those. So we have 6 yards squared for that. So we've got our 2 triangular faces done. Now we need to do this steeped part of the roof. So the 2 rectangular faces here. So if this, we know this is 5 yards along here. Now we need to know this distance. We're not given that directly, but we can use this right triangle here to figure that out. So I'm going to, let's just make sure we make a note of what we're looking at. So the rectangular faces here, we're gonna look and draw this right triangle. So I'm just taking this triangle, redrawing it here. So this height here is 2. And I want to know what this is. So because we're going to use Pythagoras theory, I'll just call that C. Now this full distance is 3. This has to be halfway. So half of 3, this distance along here is 1.5. So you're going to use Pythagoras theory to find that edge length. So you can use your calculator, 2 squared plus 1.5 squared. So you're going to get 6.25. And then you're going to square root that. So make sure you square root that and you're going to get 2.5. So 2.5 yards is this distance along here. So I've figured that out now. So that means this rectangular face is area is length times width. So we have 5 times 2.5. So you're going to put that in your calculator as well, and you're going to get 12.5. yards. Now we have one here. We also have one on that back side over here. So we're going to double that. So times that by 2, and you're going to get 25 yards squared. So we got this done. So we now have to add up all of these. So the total surface area, I'll just say total here, is the walls. So the 12 plus the 20. So 12 plus 20. Plus the bottom, plus my triangular faces here, so plus 6, and then plus my rectangular faces here, plus 25. So you're going to put all of that in and calculate that, and you get 78 yards squared. Now, careful that some questions you may read, if this was, let's say, a barn and I was going to paint my barn, well, I wouldn't include the bottom of the barn. I'm not going to lift the barn up and paint underneath it. So if it's something like that, and you're doing surface area, you may not always include the bottom. If it's just an object on its own, then you do include the base or the bottom.